a charity built for wounded veterans. $63 million spent. Questions everywhere. And right at the center of it all stands Prince Harry, a man once celebrated as the face of a mission bigger than himself, now facing whispers, accusations, and growing public outrage as people begin asking a question that gets louder every single week. Where did all that money go?
Somehow this balloons from an event that cost $1 million the first year they did it to $63 million now. Harry has ballooned the budget from $1 million. It cost $1 million to do it with 400 people. It's now $63 million with an extra 140 people. What the fuck? I mean, that's insane.
They're ashamed of him. They consider him dangerous and toxic, which is why if you meet him, you do so behind closed doors.
Yeah.
200,000 pounds go toward the vets. 200,000 pounds out of 63 million. What the?
So Spike Lee rejected Prince Harry's handshake in an awkward moment during the New York Knicks versus San Antonio Spurs game, as seen in an exclusive
this is awkward.
video.
They have the bloated salaries. They pay like 23 people over $100,000 a year for a 7-day. I mean, it's just insane.
Meghan and Harry are reportedly so broke they can't even divorce. The legal fees would bankrupt them.
Money's going to be a big... And this is the mood music, JJ. All of this builds up to a scenario in which the marriage is under pressure. The penny drop for Harry, realizing you've ruined my life.
There's an audit being done on the $63 million right now. I think this is going to turn out very, very badly.
The deeper people look, the stranger the story becomes. Because this was never supposed to be about royalty. It was never supposed to be about celebrity status, private jets, magazine covers, or carefully managed public images. Invictus was supposed to be about wounded servicemen and women rebuilding their lives after sacrifice. That was the promise. That was the emotional heart of the entire project. Yet suddenly, the numbers attached to the games are causing jaws to drop across multiple countries. And here's where the controversy starts accelerating. The reported cost of the 2025 Invictus Games in Vancouver wasn't a few $1 million. It wasn't even $10 million. The figure being discussed is $63 million. The moment people saw that number, calculators came out. Questions started flying. Critics started digging. Supporters struggled to explain it. And the math became impossible to ignore.
Media are having a total meltdown about Harry and Meghan now, and seeing just how isolated they are and what a toxic brand they are. So the royal family don't want the Sussex brand anywhere near their very successful royal brand. Similarly, Hollywood, as we know, have turned their back on Harry and Meghan as well. The whole thing's a hot mess.
Suddenly, comparisons began appearing everywhere. Other veteran competitions operating on dramatically smaller budgets. Similar events serving wounded warriors while spending only a fraction of what Invictus reportedly consumed. That's when suspicion started replacing admiration. Because people weren't just asking how much was spent. They were asking why. Why was one event operating in an entirely different financial universe? Why did every answer seem to create 3 more questions? And perhaps most importantly, why did nobody appear eager to explain the difference? The investigation didn't stop there. In fact, that's exactly where it intensified. Because once people started examining financial filings, annual reports, and charity records, another pattern allegedly emerged. A pattern that critics say completely changed the conversation. More money coming in. Less money reaching veterans, higher executive expenses, growing reserves, expanding administration, and suddenly what looked like an expensive event started looking like something much larger, something people couldn't stop talking about.
So, also, it doesn't pay for the veterans' transportation or insure them. I mean, what is this paying for?
The insurance thing is insane.
It is.
Insurance.
Lots of private jets, lots of camera crews, lots of security, a documentary, beautiful fashion, of course, from Meghan. 5-star hotels they stay in. I wonder, I mean, somebody is doing it. There's an audit being done on the $63 million right now. I think this is going to turn out very, very badly.
That single observation hit like a thunderbolt, because if income was rising while direct support was shrinking, people wanted explanations. They wanted transparency. They wanted receipts. They wanted proof that the mission remained the priority. Instead, critics claim they found complexity, layers, structures, committees, executives, budgets, reports, everything except simple answers. And then another explosive detail entered the conversation. Taxpayer money, not small amounts either. Millions, public funds, government support. Money originating from ordinary citizens who believed they were helping wounded veterans. The moment taxpayers realized their own money was connected to the story, interest exploded. This wasn't simply a celebrity charity anymore. This was becoming everyone's business.
The figures have been inflated. They've made less money than they claim. And this is propaganda from the relentless and ruthless Sussex public relations machine which never sleeps.
Now the pressure was growing from every direction. Citizens wanted transparency. Journalists wanted answers. Online investigators wanted documents. And every new discovery seemed to generate even more controversy than the last. Then came one of the most damaging details of all: silence. Because sometimes silence becomes louder than any statement. Sometimes the refusal to address criticism creates a bigger headline than the criticism itself. And that's exactly what critics argue happened next.
And they said that the $4 million in sponsorships, that the sponsors, the corporate donors, aren't named. So I'm wondering, because people will rag on the corporate sponsors? Do they have people giving them money who say, "Don't use my name"? Is that possible?
One document even looked like it was paying the game's boss twice. Now, nobody has ever shown Harry pocketed a cent himself, and that's only fair to say. But when someone asked him to just open the books and prove it, you know what they got back? Nothing. Silence. And silence, when the answer should be so easy, has a sound all its own.
What the? I'm amazed nobody has been all over this before, but thank God Paula Froelich is getting in the mix on this thing.
Nobody publicly proved Prince Harry personally benefited from the money. That distinction matters. It deserves to be said clearly. But what critics couldn't understand was why answering questions appeared so difficult. If everything was straightforward, why not show it? If everything was transparent, why not explain it? If there was nothing hiding beneath the surface, why did the controversy keep growing instead of shrinking? Those questions started echoing across social media, podcasts, comment sections, and discussion forums. Then came a twist nobody expected, because the biggest breakthrough reportedly didn't come from a major newspaper. It didn't come from a famous television network. It didn't come from an award-winning investigative team. According to growing discussions online, much of the digging originated from one determined individual willing to spend countless hours reviewing documents line by line. And that revelation created an entirely separate battle.
I was watching Kinsey Schofield, who's great, by the way, and she had Paula Froelich, who's done phenomenal research on this. I know Mark Dolan quotes her a lot. And she's talking about how it looks like this has been nailed down in San Diego for 2029.
Suddenly, people weren't only arguing about Invictus. They were arguing about credit, recognition, ownership of the investigation itself. And when major media figures reportedly entered the story later, some followers became furious. They believed the real work had already been done long before headlines appeared. But beneath that smaller fight sat an even larger question, a question capable of changing how people viewed the entire Invictus story. Was Invictus ever truly Harry's achievement in the first place? The answer depends entirely on who you ask. Supporters point toward Harry's military experience, his public advocacy, and his role in promoting the games globally. Critics tell a very different story. They point toward palace infrastructure, royal foundation involvement, William's support, institutional resources, the machinery of the monarchy itself. Two completely different versions of history, two completely different narratives, and both sides remain convinced they're right. That's where the story becomes fascinating, because this is no longer just about budgets. It's no longer just about veterans. It's no longer even just about Harry. It's becoming a battle over legacy itself. Who built Invictus? Who deserves credit? Who deserves blame? And if the foundation underneath the project wasn't as independent as people believed, what else might the public have misunderstood? Those questions are only getting louder as new financial concerns continue appearing around future games, future funding, and future public support. And as the controversy kept expanding, the future suddenly became just as controversial as the past. Because instead of shrinking, the financial demands attached to Invictus appeared to be growing larger with every new event announced. Critics who were already alarmed by Vancouver's reported price tag began looking ahead, and what they found only intensified their concerns. Attention quickly shifted toward Birmingham, a city facing well-publicized financial struggles, services being cut, budgets under pressure, citizens asking difficult questions about priorities. Yet, discussions surrounding future Invictus funding reportedly involved tens of millions of dollars. To many observers, the timing couldn't have looked worse. Ordinary people facing economic pressure while enormous sums appeared available for another sporting event. Whether fair or unfair, that perception became a powerful force driving public frustration. Then another layer emerged. Future games potentially stretching across additional countries, additional governments, and additional public funding sources. Every new announcement triggered the same question all over again. Who is paying for this? And why are the costs climbing so dramatically? Critics started describing a pattern. Every time concerns surfaced, another large financial commitment seemed to appear appear somewhere else. One government backing away, another stepping forward, one funding source disappearing, another materializing. To skeptical observers, the constant movement made the entire structure look unstable. They argued that confidence was weakening beneath the surface while officials continued presenting a picture of success. Meanwhile, Prince Harry himself remained at the center of the debate, not because anyone had conclusively proven wrongdoing, but because his name had become inseparable from the Invictus brand. Every headline, every budget discussion, every criticism ultimately circled back to him. And that created another problem entirely: the public image. Because while questions about finances continued growing, Harry was simultaneously appearing in magazines, attending high-profile events, accepting recognition, and being celebrated as a global figure. To supporters, those appearances reflected years of advocacy and commitment. To critics, they represented something very different. They saw a man receiving praise while the organization attached to his reputation faced increasingly uncomfortable scrutiny. That perception exploded whenever comparisons with Prince William entered the conversation, and they entered constantly. For years, the brothers have been viewed through a lens of comparison. Every appearance, every interview, every public reaction, every success and failure. But now, critics began applying that same comparison to Invictus itself. They argued that one brother appeared increasingly associated with stability, continuity, and institutional success, while the other seemed surrounded by controversy, financial questions, and public relations battles. Whether that comparison is fair hardly matters anymore. What matters is that people believe it, because perception has become its own reality. Then attention shifted toward Harry's life in California, where another set of questions started generating headlines. Expensive security, expensive property, expensive staffing, expensive travel. Critics began painting a picture of a lifestyle requiring enormous amounts of money simply to maintain. Suddenly, every financial discussion seemed connected. Invictus, media deals, corporate partnerships, public appearances. Everything became part of one larger narrative. A narrative suggesting that the pressure wasn't decreasing, it was increasing. And that's why this story refuses to disappear, because beneath every argument sits a deeper suspicion. People aren't just questioning numbers. They're questioning credibility. They're questioning leadership. They're questioning whether the public image matches reality behind closed doors. The most damaging part may be that nobody seems capable of ending the debate. Every answer generates new questions. Every defense creates fresh criticism. Every explanation becomes another battleground. And so the story keeps moving forward. A charity facing scrutiny, millions of dollars under the microscope, governments being questioned, veterans caught in the middle, a prince facing growing criticism, and a public increasingly determined to know what happened. Because once trust begins cracking, people don't stop looking. They look harder. And right now, that's exactly what's happening. The numbers are still being discussed. The questions are still being asked. The critics are still digging. And Prince Harry remains standing in the center of a controversy that, far from ending, may only be entering its next chapter.